Hello everyone, you're welcome to another tutorial. So our tutorial today is on maxi dress, and I'm making use of 3 yards of chiffon by 60, and I'm making use of pattern paper. This is for both the front and the back because I'm going to cut those at the same time. So I'm bringing down 1 inch for the top margin. And next is the dress length, 60 inches. Next, we insert the bust line measurement or armhole measurement, 9 3/4. Next will be the half shoulder measurement or half back width measurement, 8 inches for this project that I'm working on. So the neck width is 3 inches, and then coming down with 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Next we connect the neck to the shoulder slope. So the neck depth for the back bodies is 1.5 inches, and I'm forming the curve. The neck depth for the front bodies is 9 inches. It's a V neckline. So I want to extend the neck width by 1 inch, making it 4 inches. Now I'm drawing the V neckline for the front bodies. And then we mark the midpoint on the armhole or arm side depth, and then mark, then bring in 0.5 inch. Now this is for the front arm side depth. Now this is the back armhole. Now we draw the front armhole. We're inserting quarter bust measurement. That is the only measurement to be working with here. If your hip is the largest, you can use the quarter hip measurement. That is the largest circumference of your body. Whatever we mark here, we're going to insert it on the hemline. So next we draw a straight line from this point to the hemline. So here's what the pattern is looking like. The shoulder to the hemline. And we are done marking our pattern. So the next thing is to cut it out. We'll cut the back neckline and the back armhole. Well, before we cut out, let's add seam allowance to the shoulder and the armhole. 0.5 inch. Note that we are adding to the back armhole for now. Now we can go ahead and cut out the pattern. So we're going to separate the front and the back bodies because we're going to work on them separately. Now we cut out the neck, the front neckline, because this is the front bodies, and then we add seam allowance to the armhole. The shoulder already has an allowance, also 0.5 inch. Now from the shoulder or from the neckline, not on the seam allowance side, we come down by 3 inches because we are going to cut that part out. The front is going to have gathers. We're going to set this aside and then cut fabric for it later. Now this is the back. We're going to come down with 5 inches. Now because of the allowance, I made it 5.5 inches. And then we're going to separate that part as well. Now we're cutting on fabric. Now this is the front bodies, and because of the neckline, this is how I'm going to add the allowance for the gathers. You can add between 6 to 8 inches actually, and then at the top make sure you leave 0.5 seam allowance to join to the shoulder. So next we cut out the neckline. And the side. So we cut the side. We are going to place this part now to the side so we can cut the armhole. So this is the front. By the way, the fabric was folded, unfold too. This is the part we're going to gather. Now this is the back. Because the back does not have neckline on there's no a neckline extending anywhere, so the extra fabric can come on the center back. Now you see the extra fabric, that part is going to be gathered. So next we cut the sleeve. The sleeve pattern already has allowances, so I'm going to add 5 inches extra for the gathers. The gather is going to be at the shoulder and also the sleeve round. Notch the sleeve head. And then the shoulder part that we cut off earlier, we're going to cut fabric for it, and I'm cutting both the lining and the main fabric at the same time. Also, you leave 0.5 inch seam allowance to join this upper part to the lower part of the bodies. So next we cut the other part of the front. Now this is for the front bodies. Note your neckline. This is the front neckline, so we notch that part so we know we're attaching it to the front neckline. Also cut 4 pieces the main fabric and the lining for both sides. So I've gone ahead to sew the neckline and notched it and then top stitch. And I've already sewn the garter here. Now we're going to attach it to that upper part. Make sure you gather it properly before fixing to the upper part. Right side facing right side. And then pin. So we're going to stitch along this side. Now this is the front bodice. I've gone ahead to attach the main fabric and the lining on one side. I've also gathered the front bodies so we can attach to the upper part of the bodies. Arrange properly and then turn over, right side facing right side as well, and then pin. So we're going to sew along the side or stitch along that side. Now the stitching is done. This is the back, as you can see, and this is the front bodies. For the neckline, I'm going to be using bias to tape it. And then we attach the shoulders of the front and back bodies. So done taping the neckline with bias, and the neckline is a V neckline. So for that V shape to really appear, we're going to stitch a little bit of that part, just like you've seen. Now can you see? So next we join the shoulders or stitch the shoulders of the front and back bodies. And we're done stitching the shoulders. So I want to add a string to the front neckline. Note it's not on the shoulder that I'm attaching the string, but the front neckline. The length of the string depends on you, but I'm making use of 30 inches. Going to fold that and then stitch. Note how I'm folding the end of the string. This is the part that will be free, and the other part that is not folded will be attached to the dress. I've gone ahead to attach one, so I'm going to show you how I attached it. This is the right side, then turn it. Place it along that garter side and stitch. And that's all. So we're going to join the side seam by the allowance that you have kept for it. I'm making use of 1 inch allowance. You can add 1.5, 2 inches. It all depends on you. Now we are done stitching, and I've gone ahead to fix the sleeve as well. I'm going to be showing you how I attach the sleeve, and I've also stitched the hemline. This dress has a slit on one side, the right side to be precise. So now let's go ahead and fix the second sleeve. Next is to do a running stitch on the sleeve cuff and gather it, and then sew the sleeve side as well. The sleeve cuff is 12 inches, so on fold you should be having 6 inches. And we're going to tape it with bias as well. This bias, I'm going to be measuring 12 inches for the sleeve cuff and then extra 20 inches for string. So we get the midpoint of this bias. And then mark. We're going to measure the sleeve cuff 6 inches from the midpoint on the right and then 6 inches to the left, making altogether 12 inches. So that midpoint that we have marked, we're going to attach it to the sleeve side because the string is actually facing up. That is along the center sleeve. And we're going to place it on the wrong side stitch because the bias is going to be facing the right side of the sleeve. So next we attach the half part of the sleeve cuff on the midpoint of the sleeve cuff, and then the other part will go around the other side of the sleeve. Now we stitch the bias together with the sleeve. What we'll be doing next is to stitch or remove the gathers, the stitch we use in gathering the cuff first. Now this is the right side. We're going to be turning the bias this way and then stitch along this part. Now the stitching is done. This is the right side of the sleeve. This is the side of the sleeve, and this is the center or mid. This is the mid sleeve. Yes, so we're going to stitch along this bias. Fold the end as seen. Tuck every part that is poking out in. And the stitching is done. Now we fix the sleeve to the main bodice or the dress. The shoulder has gathers as well. Of the sleeve, the upper part of the sleeve has gathers. So on the shoulder, we are going to be measuring in between the shoulder seam. We have 2 inches on the left and 2 inches on the right, making 4 inches for where the gathers will be. So next we pin. We're going to pin up to the point where the gathers will be and stop. Pinning is done. Now look at where the gathers will be, and this is the fabric left to be gathered. We're going to be using needle and thread to form our gathers. Gathering is done, and we are going to be stitching the sleeve. So here we are, all done. With and without belt. Thank you for watching, everyone.